Today I'm going to be replacing the motor in a Fuji spray salon tan. First thing we need to do is take the insert side of the cabinet off so we can see the motor and get to the controls. And I take this off just to make it easier to maneuver the box. To take the spray gun holder off, you'll need a Phillips head screwdriver. And I use a magnetic tray to keep all my screws together so I don't lose any of them. These have a tiny black lock washer that comes with them, so be careful not to lose one of those. And the threads are actually cut into the box, so you don't want to put too much pressure. You could strip the threads pretty easily. And there's a larger screw on this side, also a Phillips head. And it also has a lock washer. The screws that hold the cabinet together are, it looks sort of like a Phillips, but it's actually the square bit is what works the best. And if you're using a driver like this, I suggest, if it's got settings, the medium torque setting, again, so that you don't strip the threads. Okay. Inside the box, you got the intake tube, so you'll want to take that out. And this one, because the motor obviously burned, has a lot of black residue, probably from the brushes or maybe the bearings. So you'll want to wash all that off before you put it back together to avoid contaminating the motor. First thing I want to do is take this rubber gasket off the top of the intake, top of the motor. Sometimes the replacement motor might come with a new gasket, but normally they don't. And under that gasket, there's also a couple of spacers. There are actually two spacers here. So you want to keep these in order to make a seal when you replace the new motor. So these you want to set aside, clean them up, of course. Now the first thing I do is take pictures as you go along so you can see how the wiring is set up. And what we'll do is remove the floor so that we can open this up, get better access, and then I'll clip these draw tights so I can spread the wires out and see how each colored wire is connected. That way I can put them back in the right place when I reassemble. Okay, so let's take this apart. The floor, just the screws here. There's also, you'll need an Allen wrench to take this off, which holds the hose connector in place. And you'll need channel locks or an adjustable wrench to take this off when we get to replacing the motor. There's a lot of residue on that. This turbine housing had a lot of overspray on it, and it looks like it's gotten into the thread. So it's more than likely this was kept too close to the sprayer. That's going to be difficult. All right. You can see just by reaching inside there, I got black powder all over me. So a lot of overspray actually got into the unit, and some of that is probably dust from the brushes. The brushes got burned out on the motor. Okay. By removing the floor panel, you can spread this out so that when we clip these draw tights, we can spread the wires out. You can see already there's a lot of, looks like tanning solution in here. The tanning solution is sticky, and that can also get into the motor. So that's definitely not good for it. Just try to find a place where you can get to these draw tights without actually damaging the wires. Okay. Yeah, a lot of residue in here. Sticky tanning solution. Okay, so now I can spread my wires out. I see that the long black wire goes from the switch to the fuse. Short one goes from the fuse to the cord connector. There's a ground to the cord connector, ground to the motor, and then one neutral goes to the switch, the neutral closest to the switch from the motor, and the other neutral that will be attached to the motor when you get it, when the replacement motor, goes to the cable connect. Okay. Underneath this bottom ground is a washer that we'll have to take off to clean it, to clean the floor here. You also notice there are actually 3 threaded pins here. The one that we use for the ground is actually marked with a symbol. I'm not sure you can see that under all the dust, but there's a ground symbol there. So, or as you're taking photos, you can make sure you get it back in the right place. And we'll want to disconnect all the wires. Now before I throw any of this old wiring away, or any of the, you know, the fuse, the cable connector, or the switch, I look at the replacement motor and see what the kit contains. I want to make sure I have everything I need to put it back together. So I've got the ground wire, green and yellow. I've got a short black, a long black wire, one cable tie, or draw type. I actually need two. I've got a fuse, a new switch, and a new cable connector. So I can throw all these away. Might as well. If I've got new ones, let's replace them. And like I said, the neutrals and the other ground come on the motor. Might want to save these, because it looks like the new cable connect doesn't come with the screws. The screw and nut. Have a new one of these, so we'll toss that. This, you just depress these tabs and you can get it out. Same with the switch. Might need some help. The reason these are stuck is because of all that tanning solution. Gumming up the works here. What I'm doing is clipping the tabs that hold this in because they're so gummed up I can't bend them. Okay, so we've removed all the connectors. We removed the Allen nut. We removed the nut from the outside of this. Now, with a 7/16 socket, we'll take these bolts out, or nuts rather. There's a lock washer underneath each nut. You want to be sure to save those. Lock washer. The nuts down inside here. Not sure it's visible from the video, but you can see some shininess oily surface there. That's tanning solution that got into the unit. So this, besides the fact that it didn't have a filter when I got it out of the box, I don't know if it was being used without a filter or not, but certainly it was too close to the spray area because it's just full of tanning solution, and that'll gum up everything. So just something to be aware of. This is a spacer that holds the intake, the threaded, not the intake, for the hose connector. So now we lift this off, try and maneuver this intake out. It's the inside plate. Look at all the residue on that. It's full of tanning solution, or gummed up rather. And it'll be on the inside as well, probably. Okay. Underneath the turbine motor, there's a washer, a spacer, spacer rods on each one. And sometimes the replacement motor kit comes with new spacer rods, sometimes it doesn't. There's also a gasket down here. What we'll do is remove all these, clean the inside of the case, and then and all the little components, and then put it back together. Okay, so I got this all cleaned up. Put the spacers back in. You can see there's a washer underneath each spacer. Spacer, washer. Now we have to insert the hose connect through the hole. This is the new motor. Make sure you don't trap any wires. Okay. Oh, there's a spacer that goes, locator that goes here on this. Be sure to put that back in first, because you can't get it in later. All right, now we're ready. And I'll have to take this back out again when I put the floor on, but I like to put this in just to keep the hose connector in the right place while I tighten everything down. Okay, so now on each of these bolts, put a lock washer. And a nut. And tight. There's a rubber base under this motor, so basically what we want is we want to get these nuts tight enough so that it seals against that rubber base, but not so tight that it's jammed in though. So just hand tight is enough. Keep it in place. Alright. So this wire will go to the switch. This wire will go to the cable connect. This, of course, goes to our ground post. So I'll start putting these components in. The screws I saved from the last one. These insert from the inside. The fuse just snaps in with the orientation so that the 12 is facing up. This just snaps in. Connect the white wire from this side of the motor to the top. This neutral over here. The ground will go onto the floor of the cabinet. Short black wire to the cable connect, and the blue tab goes to the fuse. Doesn't matter which side. These are both colored the same, so the long black wire goes from the switch to the other side of the fuse. Fuse, breaker, whatever you want to call it. And the ground wire will go from the top of the cable connect, red wire to the cable connect, or red clip rather. And the other end will go on the floor. Which I washed and put over here. Just line up the slot with the Allen screw. And this is the post, threaded post marked ground. So I want to put this little star washer on the bottom of that post. Then my ground from the motor. Put a nut on that. Now we'll put the other ground wire in. Before I close this up, before I strap the wires and close it up, I like to test it. So we'll connect the cable. Good idea, make sure your switch is off before you connect, but anyway. It works. Unplug before you reach into the box again. Now we have to take the Allen bolt back out. We're just using it to keep everything tight, as I said, while I bolted in the motor. Want to make sure this bolt goes through the spacer locator and into the hose connect nozzle there. There's a thread on the bottom of it. Okay. Now we can close or fasten the floor. And square it up as you go. By going diagonally. Whichever one you put in first, go across from it. That helps to keep things square. Once it's squared, all the holes should line up. Now, one draw tight came with the new motor. Basically what we want to do is gather these wires up and now the trick here is to tighten it lightly. You don't want to really crimp all those wires together to the point where it puts an indentation in the insulation on the wires. Often they come tighter than they need to be from Fuji. Clip off the end. And the tip only came with one, but I have some extra ones, so I'll clip these together. I'm just trying to keep them away from the motor as best I can. See, I can, they're tight, but I can still maneuver the wires a bit. Not too tight. our spacers, actually 2 spacers here. The rubber seal that goes on the top, all of which I washed. Probably the hardest part about putting this back together is lining up this tube with this hole and the gasket with this. This, as you can see, can be just a tad off, but this actually has to insert into here. And I know I've got it right when the holes on the outside casing line up with the holes on the inside of the case. There we go. So now that I've got that, the first thing I want to do is put a screw on the holes over here so that it keeps that post or intake pipe in place. Now I'll come over here, square it up. Make sure my holes line up. Okay, I've got 1 screw left over in my magnetic tray, so there's 1 missing. Yeah, there it is. Now, there are 2 locator tabs on this. They have to fit in little holes there. So you maneuver that into place. Tight, but not too tight. Now we'll put our spray gun support back on. This is a Phillips. Make sure the little washer's on these. Just want to compress the lock washer. That's it. Okay. Ready to go. That's it.